Do you want ideas for using your 6x6 pattern paper without making scraps? Hi, I'm Jess from JessCrafts.com, and I'm here to help you make the most of your crafty supplies and time. So let's get making. Today I am going to share a new 6x6 paper busting template that shows you how to cut one 6x6 piece of paper to make two A2 size cards with no scraps, and you're going to add mats to them, although that is a step you can usually skip if you like. Today's video is also a collaboration with CaitlinAnnaleeCards here on YouTube, so I will link you to her video in the video description in her channel. She's a very talented Copic colorist and crafter, and she's going to have a giveaway on her channel. It's going to be a $25 gift certificate to Sweet November stamps, which is the stamps I'm going to be using today, so that's very exciting, and be sure to check her out. This particular sketch works with directional paper. However, I needed to realize that I have to change the orientation for cutting, because if you were to cut it this way and you had directional pattern paper, then you're turning it all on its side. But if you cut it with this as the top of the paper, it works. So I'm going to change that up for you guys for your printable template so it's less confusing and it works better with directional pattern paper. So if I'm holding it sideways, that's why. I have Happy Haunts from Die Cuts with a View, and I already colored up a sample of the little girl that I want to use. There's the little Witchwees from Sweet November stamps. So I want to pick a pattern paper that she'll look cute with. I don't probably want something like this because I'm going to be chopping it into small bits, and so I'm going to lose these details and they're not going to really make sense. I probably want something that has a little bit of purple or green to complement her, and maybe something with a pretty solid back so that she stands out, because she's going to go here, and then I'll probably stamp my sentiment to go with her, especially if I can get it, if I can stamp it directly onto the pattern paper. That's always great. So, you know, maybe these ghosties, but I do love a cutesy Halloween card, and those pumpkins are adorable. Let's see, what are all our choices? I like that one a lot, actually. And then it has, I guess this is a little more spooky, but maybe that's okay. And I do tend towards like more cutesy Halloween cards, but I personally don't like, I like spooky stuff. I actually used to work at a haunted hayride, and that was really fun because like my job at the haunted hayride was I had a little like megaphone, and I would try to hype people up for the scary things they were going to encounter. So it was my job to kind of make everyone feel extra scared and worried about what was coming up next. So, okay, this tells me that I want to, well, I can first make the 6x6 because this pattern paper is not, it has that little bit of extra, which can be good for putting like inside a card or something if you consider this a scrap. Just cut it into like a little banner for the inside of your card, and then you don't have to feel like you have any scraps. So that's what I would do with that. Okay, I can start by cutting this in half to make a 3x6 inch piece. I do want to, because everything on the card is going to be, the strips are going to be this way, horizontal. I want to make sure that I'm keeping that in mind as I'm cutting, but your template will be a lot more clear that that is the way, like which is the top of the paper. So I need it to be 3 3/4 inches off that 6-inch side, and then this is going to be cut at every inch, so I make 3 1-inch wide strips. I think that if you wanted, these strips that go in the background would not need a mat because they're going to pop off the card just fine. But I think this piece here, which is going to be your focal point, it will stand off the background a little bit more if it has a mat. So if you wanted to skip some mats, I'd probably do it on these back strips here. Purple for my cardstock mats, mostly because I accidentally cut a bunch of purple wrong into these small little almost square-like shapes. And so this is a good opportunity to use them. It tells you to cut the horizontal strips and then how to cut their mats. And it says that they need to be 3.875, which is 3 7/8, I believe, if you do it into fractions. But I'm not gonna really bother that. I like to be super precise here as not to confuse anybody. but basically I need a 4-inch and then a little bit of it's gonna be cut off. So I'm just gonna cut it to 4 inches, and then once I glue it down to my card, trim that off, because I find that easier than trying to do the precise measurement. But basically, instead of having a mat go all the way around the little strip, I'm leaving off this end and I'm making it flush with the card so that it fits a little bit better across a card. Because if I were to make it a 4-inch wide mat, it wouldn't give you much room on these sides. So just kind of explaining that little tweak that I'm gonna make in terms of the measurements, but the exact measurements are right here. I have been sharing a lot of Halloween cards throughout the month of September, and I'll probably continue to share them throughout October because I like Halloween. I know it's not for everyone, but a lot of the ideas that I'm showing, like this template, you could do with absolutely any holiday. It's not really about the paper that I'm choosing. It's about just the general, you know, learning the sketch or just getting ideas about color matching and that kind of thing. But anyway, Caitlin is doing a series on her channel right now where she is sharing a whole bunch of Halloween cards. I think it's like 13 days of Halloween. So she's gonna share 13 cards in 13 days right here at the end of September. So if you love Halloween, you've been enjoying the Halloween videos on my channel, for sure go check out her Halloween series. So here's where the mat issue is going to come in a little bit more. So I have a mat all the way around, but I want to cut off one end. So I'm going to try to line up my strip such that when I cut that off, it will leave the pattern paper perfectly flush as well. I know that might be a little fiddly for some people, and so that's why I wanted to give you the exact measurements as well, so that you could just butt up the end of this pattern paper against the mat and then not have to worry about this step later on in the card making process. And so the card sketch calls for making 2 of them right justified and 1 left justified, and then like you know, put up against those ends. And then this goes here in the center. You want to put a little scrap of cardstock behind it just so that when you go to glue it down, it doesn't kind of sink in the middle here. Really small detail, but it can help. And then I want to see if I can get this sentiment stamped directly on here. It looks like it just fits, which is perfect because I don't mind doing a banner die from time to time for sure, but this is definitely always a little bit faster if I think it will be readable. And with a sentiment like this does need quite a wide banner for it. So it's a little bit, lends itself a little bit more to being stamped directly onto the paper. So there I'm opening the card, cutting off those ends. Hopefully I eyeballed everything right. Okay, that looks good there. And then the same on this side. I find it much easier to kind of go from behind. I would never try to cut from the front. I just, for whatever reason, I always mess that up. I personally like to cut from behind. So if you've had any trouble, maybe just try that instead. Sentiment stamped beautifully. I was a little bit concerned it wouldn't be very readable on this background with the grids and the lines and all that, but VersaFine ink and a little bit of a thicker sentiment worked really well. So Caitlin is going to be using this same Sweet November stamp set. I'm not going to show you my Copic coloring, in part because Caitlin probably will, and she is a Copic coloring expert. Her stuff is beautiful, so I'll leave her to that expertise, but I do have other videos on my channel that share how I would Copic color. Maybe I'll do something like on Instagram, a speed coloring or something with it. Make sure you go to jesscrafts.com to grab your template where you can print this off and make your own no scrap cards with whatever 6x6 paper you need to use in your collection, and enter Caitlin's giveaway because maybe you can win $25 to Sweet November, so you have something to embellish all of those cards. If you found this video inspiring, here's another video where you can find more ideas for enjoying your crafty time and supplies. Let me know that you liked this video with a share to your crafty community. Subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss the next template or tutorial, and check the video description for product links. See you in the next video!